Yo, well, how's it going, indie wrestling fans? Welcome to Indy Handshake. I am your host, Jesus Cruz, and today I'm joined by my friend Bart Blaxson, a friend that I've met since the 2000s at All Pro Wrestling, and then eventually Pro Wrestling Iron. How you doing, brother?
Man, couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw you was when you were doing that fundraiser in Santa Cruz, and you came into the TV studio to promote it. Do you remember that?
Yes, that hurt.
Yeah.
We tried to walk all the way around the whole county of Santa Cruz nonstop.
Right.
Well, no sleeping is what it really came down to. You could stop, but you couldn't go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to be 91 miles. And I think I made it 79 miles in 38 hours or something. And then everything just went bad.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give up, but the support crew I had with me found me walking down the middle of a very dark road in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
And they just thought for my own safety, it was time to call it done. And
Yeah.
they did that. And to be honest, I don't even think I put up a fight. I think I just let it go. And
Right.
I realized it couldn't, and it's better than being splattered across the road.
Yeah, didn't someone get hit? I thought someone got hit by a car or something. I think your other buddy that was doing it.
Another guy the guy that was doing it with me, yeah, he got clipped earlier in the night, like at maybe 7 or 8 at night.
Oh man!
On a windy mountain road, they came around the corner, and he was he was off the road, but they clipped him with a mirror.
Damn!
Didn't hurt him a bit. He spun, like a top. He spun 360 degrees, landed on his feet. The mirror went shattering across the road, and I thought the worst, and he thought, hell, nothing's wrong. He kept going. He actually finished the whole thing. He actually finished it the next day with my daughter.
Okay. And what was the fundraiser for again?
We were just trying to feed kids that were hungry, because in America we got a problem with that for some reason. We don't think kids are something.
Right.
So at that time, it was 1 in every 4 kids was missing a meal in Santa Cruz County itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working with a nonprofit that said they fed kids, but I never saw them feed kids.
Oh man!
It bugged me, and it bugged me in a bad way, and it made me wake up to, we need to watch and investigate and look into these places we give our hard-earned money to, because some of them just don't do it. And you think you're doing good, and really you're just throwing your money away, and they're just, if they're talking. That was my whole point, was talking, and I didn't want to talk. I actually wanted to do something that shows you're not just talking.
Yeah, I always wonder about stuff like that, where you're donating money, where it's actually going to, and all that stuff. But so that was a good thing of you that you did that, the fundraiser. And we had you on our TV show.
You guys helped out a bunch on that show I was on, and it was amazing how many people of all ages. I mean, there was even one fairly old couple that followed us probably for a mile in their car. It was funny, they did it right when we started, cheering us on. I was like, man, I wish I'd have had them about 30 hours in, because things were going bad then.
Yeah.
So, but it was good, and the exposure was fantastic. And we did what we set out to do. We didn't end hunting by any means. We just didn't get there.
Right.
Sometimes I almost wonder if they want you to even solve that problem.
Mm-hmm. But switching gears a little bit, diving into pro wrestling. Standard question, how did you get interested in watching wrestling, and how did you find local wrestling in your area?
Yeah, this is going to go into stuff that probably most people don't know. I don't even know if you know. When I was a younger guy, I was 17. I was diagnosed with cancer, to the point that they told me I had a couple months to live.
Oh, wow.
And they said if I were to get lucky and live, I certainly wouldn't have kids, and there'd be a whole lot of other things that would go bad in my life. But I proved all that wrong. I have 2 kids. They're grown adults now, and one's actually becoming a professional boxer.
Okay.
So I hope she does real well with that. But the way I got into wrestling was I'd watched wrestling as a little kid, but then when I was laying in a hospital bed for 9 months straight, it was on, and it took your mind and let your mind go other places than the crap you were dealing with. And after that, I decided that I'd like to be able to give that to somebody else. You know, somebody else is having a hard time. They come watch wrestling, and if you could take their mind off the crap,
right,
just a little bit, you didn't bring them happiness, but you gave them an escape. And you know, you grew up in that time frame, and you know the wrestlers were badasses. You know, it wasn't as much theatrical as it is now, and but it was, you know, it was just something I loved. And APW, when I started searching for how to get into the wrestling business, I had not a clue how you did it. And APW came up in a search I did, and it was about an hour and a half from where I lived. So I went up there and met Roland and Mike and Donovan and Vinny Massaro, Jardin France. There was a couple others there. I'm sure I'm forgetting.
What year was this?
1999.
99. Okay.
99. And I was old to be considered getting into the business. I mean, I think I was pushing 28 or 29.
Okay.
So, and against all doctors that said my body wouldn't take it, I did it anyway. And don't get me wrong, the doctors to an extent they were right. My body suffered from. It's the chemotherapy that weakens everything down, and your body just has a hard time dealing with some things. And then, of course, you take a major beating in pro wrestling, whether everybody believes that or not. None of us get out of that unscathed.
Right. And how was training? Like, you started training. How was it going from a fan of pro wrestling to now you're actually doing it? Now you're taking bumps. What were some of the shocks that came with it? Like, oh shit, like, this really hurts.
It's the workload. It's not, bumps hurt. You do bumps correctly, they hurt less.
Right.
They still hurt. But it's the workload. It's not just about being, bumping. You look at pro wrestling today, and I mean, we see a few people that we wouldn't consider them in good shape by looking at them. They are. They can all go, and trying to train and take the bump. You got to train hours and hours a week, and then you have to physically condition yourself.
Right.
APW provided some of that with a guy by the name of Greg Thurston.
Yep.
He'd come in and help us out with that, but he couldn't do it all on his own. So you had to do it at home. You had to work out. I didn't live near the gym, so more of it was on. I didn't have the ability to just go to the gym and work out and do practice. I was getting up at 4, going to the gym. I'd go to work. I'd put in my 8 there, and then I'd head up to APW, and I'd wrestle till 9 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back down and start over again the next day. And it's just a workload, and it's a lot of workload. It's not. Everybody just thinks you go in there and there's nothing to it. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's a lot, and it's more than just even the bumps. It's you have Mike Modest telling you you're selling it wrong, and if you bump wrong, now you're hurt. And we had several of those where people were hurt, and I mean I was hurt several times, but it's my own fault. It's they teach you to protect you, and that's the biggest deal is protecting you, because nobody else. Yeah, some of them are protecting you, but some of them aren't so good at it.
Yeah.
So APW was awesome. Vinny Massaro was he was the instructor I was dealing with the most. You had Mike Modest, Donovan Morgan, absolutely. You had Roland, but Vinny was more hands-on every day. Vinny was nice. He lived there or nearby, but he was always there. So anytime you wanted to come on Saturday, Sunday, you'd come in there and do some extra ring work and talk about things. And it was a good fit. It was a good fit, a great way to get your foot in the door. It had a name behind it. It had Michael Modest, and Donovan Morgan and God, I'm gonna forget his name. Max Justice had Max Justice and Boyce LeGrand, and you had all those names in there.
Right. It was a very complete promotion, from the training, from the conditioning with Greg Thurston to promo classes. How were you? I have a lot of your promos, so how were you in that department?
Jardy France, Sean Patrick O'Doul. August 3rd, Samoan Flag Day, San Francisco, California. We're in a three-way dance. The way I see it is I have the only advantage of winning that match. Jardy France has a broken hand. Sean Patrick O'Doul has a broken shoulder. August 18th, Saturday, Vallejo, California. 7'2", 400-pound Dalip Singh, who's been running all over APW. He's taken on the biggest and the baddest, and he's taken them all out. On the 18th, he has to face Tommy Blaze, who is fresh off his vacation, which I'm sorry they had to bring you in. It's
terrible. Promo classes that's a weird thing. Talking to you or talking to anybody, a human being in front of me, I can get involved in that. Talking to a camera, this thing is just looking at you. And you got a guy behind it that's just looking at you, and he's messing around with things, and you're trying to be mad or whatever you're trying to convey. But I'm talking to an inanimate object, and it was tough. It was really, that wasn't easy, and then they ask you things that that they're not really even relevant. Whoever's going to ask you a question, and in promo class especially, right? Because you're supposed to be able to talk about anything at any time, right, anywhere. It just takes time to get used to that. And I know the way that I finally got away from having a problem with it. Mike Modest and I were cutting a promo, and I want to say it was I don't think it was Angels Camp, but maybe Lathrop. But anyway, him and I were jawing at each other, and he slapped me. And I had no more issues after that. Okay, it's for real now, and let's just get down to business. I'd rather not talk, rather just get in the ring and let's get to work. Let's show what we got and
right,
see where it goes. And sometimes you do good, and sometimes, well, not so much.
Yeah. So signing up when you signed up at APW, what was your goal in wrestling? Was it just to work locally, or did you have in mind, like, maybe I could go to a WWF at the time, WCW?
Yes, that was the ultimate goal. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's certain guys that just want to work local, and that's good. Mine was to get to a position where I could do two things. One was I could take people's mind off the crap that they're dealing with,
mm-hmm,
which you can do locally. The second one is that I wanted to go visit kids in cancer institutions, Ronald McDonald House, wherever.
mm-hmm,
and just be able to sit down with them and let them know that that's where I came from. And I didn't ever want to forget where I came from, because it's really what pulled me through it. It really was. And I don't want that just to sound, cliche or, I'm just saying it. It held a special part in my heart when that was all going on, and I really wanted to give that back, and didn't quite make it to my dreams. But, at least I didn't sit down on the couch and just think about it,
mm-hmm,
get up and go try it.
mm-hmm,
We're not always successful. So, but I don't miss, I wouldn't have traded it for anything. If I could go back and my body would take it, I'd do it.
mm-hmm.
I just don't, I don't believe either of those are the cases.
Mm. And you were introduced into other styles of wrestling. There's a little bit of lucha with Jardy France and them, and then there's definitely a Japanese influence. So did you start watching Japanese matches because of like Mike Modest and Donovan Morgan, like, or were you kind of just thinking like, I just want to kind of do American brawling style?
Yeah, I'm not exactly built for lucha style whatsoever.
Mm.
I'm just not. My body doesn't work that way. I'm more of a brick wall standing in front of you, and you got to come try and knock it down. It's amazing how fast those guys are, and it's amazing. Jardy France, he'd hit you 5 times. You didn't even know the first one was coming. And then you get a real wake up call. I had a match with Misawa, and it was just amazing how quick those guys are. And you have to have some kind of answer for them, more than just get out of the ring.
Right.
And sometimes when it's too fast, that's what you do. You need to collect your thoughts and get the hell out of there. You don't need to stand there and get beat on. So I like it. I wish I could be as fast as those guys. I think I would have done better in the business had I been a little quicker, and not just been it's almost like a ditch digger. We just set off in one path and off we go. And, I didn't have the 1,000 moves repertoire. I didn't have it. I just had the ones I had, and you got to do the best you can with what you got.
Right.
I knew that I tried doing, let's call it a lucha move. It probably wasn't. I mean, you can see anybody out there in the world do this, but I did one over the top rope, and it was good, and it was effective. And matter of fact, that's what I missed in the match with Misawa. Yeah. I missed it on.
I remember the move. I remember that.
And it was a good move, and I missed it. and there goes the match. You're done. and they're not going to let you miss something and let's keep going. That just it was an opening and they took it.
Yeah.
So I like watching lucha. I like watching two guys that are very versatile. It's almost the same as, okay, you have lucha and they're doing their thing, right, their style, and then you watch some guys that can really grapple. And when they grapple, it is beyond insane. When you see them trading moves back and forth and they're doing escapes and they just come out, and you see a lot of it now in MMA, right? You're seeing these submissions come out of absolutely nowhere.
Right.
And that stuff's amazing to me, that they can think that quick and their body can do what it needs to do and do with it. It's just amazing, And right. I think a lot of people don't understand how talented pro wrestlers really are, because they're talented individuals. They're athletically in shape. Their minds work quick, and they can take a serious amount of abuse.
Right.
And the abuse is the big part. You get the Dilip Singh in there hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts, and I mean it hurts. And I remember one time he chopped me, and he cut one nipple on. He cut my right nipple, and he cut my left nipple on the same shot. His hand covered my whole chest. And they wondered, and then I rolled out of the ring, right? I wasn't going to take any more of that. I'm like, the hell with this, I'm out of here. I can't fight that, And later on, I know that Michael Modest came up to me and goes, well, why'd you get out of the ring? Why would I want to stay there and keep taking that? You can't stop that. You got to beat Dilip Singh with power, with speed. You can't beat him with. I think they're going to go against him in power. I remember a training class we did. There was 4 of us, 4 guys, my size. I know. It wasn't Drago. It was Lars Lager was in there with me, and there was 2 other guys, and we were shoot wrestling elite center. 4 of us. He pinned all 4 of us at the same time.
Oh, shit.
Literally pinned all 4 of us at the same time, and you're like, you just can't beat it. It's just of a guy, and I saw he's going in the Hall of Fame. I saw that the other day. So
yeah,
which is cool. That's good news right there.
Yeah, it must be cool to see someone that you trained with, someone that you spend a lot of time with.
Yes, and another one is Tom Castor.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't. He was our ref. That guy, he pulled me out of some bad places. Mm-hmm. And it's great to see him working in the professional end of this. And I did just see he got hurt again, but hopefully that'll heal up and he can go back to it. He's on year number 4. So that's a pretty cool thing. And he actually doesn't live too far from here. And neither does Donovan, from what I understand. I haven't run into it. Maybe one day.
Right. So before we get into Pro Wrestling Ireland, let's talk about your debut match. I believe you debuted at APW, right?
Yeah, I debuted. A tag team match is what I debuted with. Lars Dogger, me against the Leap Singh.
Was this at the gym or was this at a venue like a?
This was at a venue. This was at King of Indies.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
that was your debut match.
On an actual match, not just a APW Gym Wars.
Right.
So that was my first actual match, and
this is the first. This is the first King Indies.
Yes. Daniel Bryan won that, didn't he?
No, that was the second. That was the second one. That was the second King Indies. Yeah.
The first one, who won that?
The first one, it was Christopher Daniels, and it was in Galt.
No, it wasn't that one. This one was on the island.
Mare Island.
Up there in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
That's where it was the Leap Singh. Yeah, he destroyed both of us. Pretty bad.
What gimmick were you using there? Was it Billy Bricks, or was that a rib name?
No, that was Billy Bricks was my first name. That
okay.
Really, and I have no idea. My first name was Given Thing. That wasn't, I came up with that at all. My second name, Bart Blaxson, that actually came from a phone book. Believe it or not. It came from a phone book. We had talked about a first name, and we all, it was Modest mostly. Modest and I came up with Bart.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were going back and forth on other names. And one day he just called and said, "You need to pick a name." And I worked for the state of California, and I was on a roadside, and there was a phone book right there, and I flipped it open and I started flipping through the B's, and the name was spelled different than what we ended up spelling mine, but that's how my second name came actually about. The persona didn't change, and I don't even know how I got the persona I got. I don't view myself completely that way. I mean, I go forward. Somehow I got everybody felt that I drank something. I don't know, but if you're going to go in there and fight in a brawler style,
right?
Drinking's probably usually part of that issue. So
yeah.
It fit to an extent. I mean, in my younger days, I was that way, and maybe that's what a lot of people think. I guess it worked. It fit. It wasn't hard to get to that character whatsoever.
Right.
Even when I got Frank Murdoch as my tag partner,
right,
that fit. And both of us fit that style, and we're both built the same. We both can't move. We don't have that lucha where we can fly and just slow and steady and try to outthink the other guy and see if it works.
Right. And we'll talk about teaming up with Frank and them a little bit later. But what are some of your most memorable moments from APW? Be it ribs, be it in training.
There's good ones and bad ones. Right. I mean, there were some unfortunate things that happened at APW that I know that several of the guys still think about. I still think about it. Mm-hmm. Wish I could have done different stuff to make that go away and do it differently. Mm-hmm. The best ones were really the shows, whether it was a gym show or we were out on a show. Those were my best times. Setting up rings and starting your career off. Those things are just what you remember. The fans, all of a sudden the fans know you. And I mean, it's an overnight deal. They don't know you. Oh, they know you. Mm-hmm. And that's where you start feeling like the work is paid off. And you're just starting to chase dreams. And, APW gave me a lot of opportunity. Donovan Morgan and Mike, they pushed for me hard, they really did. I didn't have a long career at APW. We went to Iron pretty quick after I actually started having matches.
Right.
And more of my memories come from that, Crash Holly, that stuff was, we did a big show in Santa Cruz, my hometown. And I think that was one of my favorites. Another favorite was Angels Camp. I love going to Angels Camp. I seem to do well up there. So that was always good. That was, yeah. And it's really the people you're with all the time,
Right.
You see you guys every day, and you guys are always trying to do your part of the business, where you're trying to capture what the hell we're doing. And sometimes that's good and bad. I mean, there's times that we're like, get the hell out of my face. And then there's other times like, hey, how come you haven't taken a picture of me in a while?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
You don't like me? What? So but it's all of it. It's the refs. It's you guys. It's the wrestlers that you bring in from other parts of the country. See how different things are trained. And it's just one of the best schools ever. And I can see why those guys that, they make it up to WWE and all that. I get it. And that's why they put themselves through what they put themselves
through. Right.
If you think it's for the money, it's not. You look at Triple H and just look at some of the injuries that have happened in the WWE. And that takes that's a toll. And it's a heavy toll that it takes on your body. I mean, you don't see too many old guys running around that were wrestlers. You just don't.
Right.
And the downsides to all that are, if you're hurt bad enough and you still got to wrestle, then you got to take stuff that numbs your pain off, and you just don't want that problem to get out of control, and it's But APW, like I said, it was the people, and then gym wars were always great, right? Because it's not always the same fans, but there's a lot of them that show up every single time. And
right.
They're following the storylines, and they know it. They know some stuff is going to happen. And then we were close enough that we all hung out even when we weren't, at war with each other. We fought through things, and some of the funniest ones are, we all, one night everybody wanted to get dressed up for Halloween, right? I didn't drink at the time at all. So I was designated driver, which that's fine. I'd rather in that cases not drive me around anyway. So I took them over to San Francisco, and these guys started a fight in the middle of the road. I mean, they started an absolute brawl, and they were working, but nobody knew they were working, and they're all dressed up in costumes, and but they're out there working, and it was a great time. I mean, there's a ton of people around. Cops are getting called. These guys are just working. They're just having a good time. And those are the memories that you just sit there and laugh about later on. You're like, nobody knew that was just a work, and it was. And then I have to get them out of there, and, I'll get caught. So it was all those things. Another one was taking Dalip Singh to a movie. You want to talk about crazy, because he talks through the whole damn movie. And we went to see something with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he kept just saying, great bicep. And he's saying it so damn loud that everybody can hear it. But nobody's going to say anything to that guy. And you're like, you keep trying to tell him to shut up. Well, that doesn't work either. So those things. And then the new guys that come in, we're all doing ribs on them. It's just a good time. Right. And it needs to be that, because it has to offset that. It just does. If it's just, you go there, you do your training, and you leave, and you don't pay attention to the people around you, chances are you're not going anywhere in the business anyway. But you need that offset so that you feel good about, the people you're around. And really, wrestling's a lot of trust. It really is. You have to trust those guys.
Right.
Because as we know, your life is on the line.
Right. And like, as you mentioned, as soon as you started having matches, the PWI APW split happened. What's your take on that? And did you feel like going into Iron, was there a feeling like, oh, we can't talk to APW guys anymore, we can't work APW guys outside of here anymore? Did you feel any of that?
I think that was there. I'm not the type of person that's going to sit there and worry about somebody else. I never heard from the Iron guys, hey, we're not going to work an APW. I don't know if it's true or not, but I would believe it came from the other side, because I know there was tension, and obviously there should have been, mm-hmm. But it wasn't. Hey, we're not going to work. That I never heard those words spoken, mm-hmm. So I don't believe that to be true. Okay. No, we didn't have hatred toward them. I didn't. I don't hate. I mean, hate's a big, strong word. I just, it was kind of like the guys that went to Iron wanted to do things different. And they did well for a long time. They really did. I mean, going from having absolutely zero to what they ended up doing was pretty strong. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to buy that there was a whole bunch, at least not on our end. I just don't. I don't think there was. I mean, I know that there were some bad feelings about how, and I'll put myself in there, how we went to Iron, and the way in which we did it. And to be honest with you, as I'm years down the road, we probably should have done that a little different. Mm-hmm. We all make mistakes. I know. Before Roland's passing, that I had a lot of good talks with Roland, and I hung out with him before he passed, and I still miss the guy. He's about as funny as they get. Just being him, just being him. It was a riot, and Roland did a lot for me. And, God rest his soul. I hope everything is perfect on the other side of this place. Because, maybe we get to do some wrestling later on. Yeah.
So now you're in Iron, tell us how it was training under Rick Thompson for that short period of time that he was around Iron.
Rick was actually a fairly good sized man, but he could move. He could. He looked so fluid in the ring, like. It was like a dance, and that's the part where you got to try to get comfortable with, not being robotic or, tripping over yourself. But I mean, he reminded me more of a boxer. His footwork was amazing. His knowledge of the business was insane. And he was willing to teach you anything you wanted to learn. All you had to do was ask him. That's all you had to do. I was training the beginners in Iron for a little bit, but Rick was there, and Mike Modest had even more, and Donovan, both of them, I felt were more hands-on in Iron than they were at APW. Now, with that being said, APW at the time that I came into APW, Mike Modest and Donovan were headed to Japan. Crash Holly had already gone. So you had Bison Smith, you had Mike Modest and Donovan, and Vinny, but Mike Modest and Donovan were really starting to do tours in Japan, and then they go over there and they, 3 weeks or whatever, and then they come home for a week, and tough schedule on those guys. Mm-hmm. But when we went to Iron, they were more hands-on at that time, and I know they were trying to to nurture the relationship with Noah. I know they were, mm-hmm. and they did it. They did a good job at it, And I think there's some breaks that weren't given to those two. I think that those two, I could see either of them in WWE. I mean, Mike Modest is he's a great worker, but his facial expressions absolutely sell it. no matter what. And I mean, it could be the craziest spot of a lifetime, right? Just the dumbest thing you could think of. And he could pull it off. If I go out there and try it, I look like an idiot. But he could pull it off. And I wish I had the knowledge I have today when I was back there, because the whole world would be different. But that's life. You don't get it.
Mike was very talented, not only in his wrestling abilities, but his charisma and everything. I remember he did the commentary alongside of Ron Head for that Hot August Fights, where you wrestled Lars Dogger. And I remember the whole time he's just ragging on your gear. It's like, oh, he's wearing his mother's tablecloth or kitchen tablecloth or something like that.
Right. And it's probably a good thing that we can't hear that while we're wrestling. Because you're either going to laugh or you're going to go start a fight. It's one of the two things you're going to happen. But your match ends, and then you go back to see where you went wrong or what you did right. You start hearing this commentary, and yeah, I think I was drunk and wearing my mom's tablecloth for my first match, and that's what I mean. The guy just thinks off the top of his head at 9,000 miles an hour, and it's awesome. Yeah. It's just awesome, I still talk to Mike, and we're on a couple of media platforms together, and sometimes we just get on there and chat.
Right.
I think in his older years now, and I haven't mentioned this to him, so if he watches this, I think the guy needs to go into storytelling and just pick a subject and let him go. And I bet he comes up with a story that, I mean, my God, everybody in the planet will listen to it, because he is that charismatic. He's that believable.
Yeah.
He would be a great salesman on that, because he makes you think everything is real. And he was great at ribs, because his facial expression wouldn't change even when he's feeding you the biggest line of crap. It's just a good time. And I hope Mike, I know what he's doing, and I hope he's doing, I hope he's finding all the happiness in the world, man, because I think the world of the guy.
So, you got to work Bison Smith, the late great Bison Smith, a lot. So tell us some of your favorite memories of Bison.
And Bison Smith and I were really close friends. APW, we both went to Iron same time. We would hang out. I remember him going to Puerto Rico, and Angels Camp was a big event for me. I actually made it to a title shot. You wish it was a title shot that wasn't against Bison Smith. That's a big hurdle. That's a big man. He's a powerful guy. What most people don't know is that's one of the nicest guys on this damn planet. He cared. He cared about the business. He cared about his friends. And he generally was upset if he hurt something. And you just, sometimes we lose that in big guys. You just, you don't think that they have that empathy in. Mark did, that's for sure. We'd hang out on weekends that neither of us were working. And he was great to work with. He was actually a big guy that can move. And I mean, he's big. That was just one solid man. He played football for, I think it was Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, championship team in college ball. So, I love Mark. I really did. And one part about the wrestling business I don't like is how many of them die so damn young. Yeah. We've lost quite a few just from the people I've trained with.
Yeah.
And that's I'm not that old, and you just hear about it, and it breaks your heart. I mean, we did some road trips together, and that was fun. And Mark was just a good cut up guy, and but if you're going to be around Mark, you better be ready to lift weights and train. And he thought about it all the time. And, that mohawk he had It's Bison.
Right.
It's sad a lot of people don't get to see the other side of the wrestling business where these guys are your friends, and yeah, you're going to go out there and work, and you're going to hurt each other, and you're going to do those things, but later on down the road, you're still friends. You still care about the guy, and you're happy to see him when they walk through the door. And that sucks that we don't get to do that anymore with him, because I know for sure that his career was cut short.
Yeah.
I think he had definitely gone on. And he was humble enough to always remember where he came from. So, there'd be no doubt in my mind that, we'd still be talking to him.
Yeah.
But that's just not the way it was all planned after that.
Yeah. And another guy that went too soon too, Crash Holly. I know you got to work with him and train with him. So how was that? Some of your favorite memories with Crash?
My favorite memory with Crash, and I remember this, was a show in Santa Cruz, and I didn't have a tag partner. And heck, I couldn't get one. I just couldn't get one. And out of nowhere, Crash Holly showed up. And he came through there, and he that's just what people saw of him in WWF, it was WWF then, maybe it was WWE. That kid side, when he was doing the hardcore champion, right? You'd see him in arcades and crap, and that's Crash Holly. That's him. That's that's just his personality. He didn't have to play to do that. That was just who that guy was. Very talented wrestler. He was great on a mic, and he could work. He didn't need spot after spot after spot. He just didn't need it. He could just work, and he could bring that crowd, the audience, right along on the ride with him. Right? I mean, the highs, the lows, the explosive parts, and then the finish. And I remember one. It was in that match, and our opponents had brought a cowbell to the damn ring.
Oh, Shane Cody, right?
Yeah, and they go to hit us. They go to hit him, and he ducked or something. Anyway, he gets the cowbell and he goes and hits him. Well, meanwhile, while he hits him with it, he cuts his finger, his little finger. I mean, he just cuts the tip of his little finger with cowbell. And that guy starts acting like somebody just shot him. Right? And I mean, he's walking around, and you think, oh my God, he's hurt. And you run over there to check on the guy, that's Jack Parker. He's like, I don't know. I just don't know if I'm all right. I just don't know. I don't know, and Tom's there, and Tom's talking to him, and Tom's pulling me away going, I don't know if he's all right, and then you come to find out he nicked his little finger. And so he was working even the workers while we worked.
Right.
And he made wrestling, more fun.
Right.
That was the only time I got to work with Crash Holly, and that was one show before he passed away.
Yeah.
He went one more back, I think, in Orlando, and then passed away. His funeral sucked.
Yeah.
Another one gone too early, and but he made it to the big leagues. And I certainly knew his name, and but he was just a kid that wanted to wrestle, and it was fun, and he made it fun.
Yeah.
And he could cut a promo.
And talk to us about the transition. Not only were you working at Iron and training at Iron, but now you're also a trainer. You went from trainee to trainer. So tell us about how that switch happened, and was it something that you wanted to do? I remember, just because I was going there so much, I would get in the ring once in a while too. I remember you gave me a Japanese suplex one time.
Yeah. I would say I like the training more than I like training, being a trainer versus being a trainee more. And I think that's because you get to see the growth of it. You get to see the person that can't do it well. I mean, at all. We had some people, and I won't mention their names. They're good people. They weren't athletically inclined. And this is back in APW. And I mean, just doing a somersault was weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of work. But then one day they get it, and then as that progresses, you start doing bigger things, bellies and Japanese. And I mean, and then you're going to make up your own move, and now you got to find a dang guinea pig to let you try it out, and see what the effectiveness of it is, and how it looks. And, you have you guys come in and, we want to see it. That's why the gym shows are so important, is you can try things there and see how they look on tape, because that's what matters, is how it looks to the audience and how it looks on tape. And that all matters. The training I liked the training, and I felt Iron kind of got away from the physical training, meaning how your body looks. I mean, we harped it every day, every second, and you'd see guys blown up in there and they can't move after 2 minutes. But we'd harp on it, but we didn't feel that we needed to waste that time on working people out, lifting weights or whatever, cardio. We felt that was them. You go do that. You want to be successful, we're going to tell you how to get there. But it wasn't, we didn't have a Greg Thurston coming in.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody would ask, they'd ask the guys that were in shape, how are you doing that? What's your regiment and all that stuff? It was good. I like being a trainer more than I like, heck, you could teach people to do things that you're thinking in your head and you didn't have to take the complete beating over it. But it was more growth. You got to see them, and then let's say Mike and Donovan and Bison all went on tour, and they'd come back and they left you, hey, you need to teach that beginner's class. And they'd come back after 2 weeks, and really you're getting evaluated because it's not about them that you're teaching. They're sitting there going, hey, we put you in charge to teach this. How come we got people that can't do it? And I actually think you learn more. You learn a lot from being the trainee, right? And your trainers instructing you in. But for me, it was a little bit easier to see the things I do wrong by watching other people. And you go, oh, like, maybe that's how I look. So I like that better. I did. But it's all good. It doesn't hurt nearly as bad. I mean, you mess up a bump, and there's times Vinny would make me do it, 50 times till you get it right. And then, as a trainer, you do the same thing back, because that's what's going to save them. That's what's going to keep them healthy, as long as you can keep them healthy.
Right. And before we get into iron folding, tell us how it was tag teaming with Frank Murdoch. And did you guys have a name, like a tag team name, or not? I know Buddy Sotelo was your guys' manager, but I don't know if you guys actually had a name, no, like a tag name, right?
There was never a name. I don't know. You'd probably know this, how they even billed us out. I don't think we were family. We were undefeated. That's a fact. We were never defeated as a tag team. It's kind of nice being partnered up with someone that's been in the business a long time. It's nice because they're experienced at what's going on. They know how things are going to go. The downside to that is if they don't, if they're not, if they feel that, hey, they're wrestling to be in front of hometown crowds, right, or small venues, but your dream is to be over here in a bigger venue, you have to risk more to get to those bigger deals to some degree. I'm not saying you need to go out there and do backflips and all that. There's a lot of guys that wrestle the same way I do. I mean, there's a ton of them. You have to stand out, and trying to stand out. I didn't want us just to be two sets of cowboys that, come in there and that's how we fight, is just straight up. And but you learn a lot of different sides of the business because you have someone so experienced in the business. You get to watch the Frank Murdochs and the Michael Modest and the Donovans, and you get to watch them, and you see how they're maneuvering through the business. and where to push and when not to, and when to sit there and shut up. And that was a tough one for me, is when to shut up. But obviously, I have that issue in my life. If it's on my mind, I'm going to say it. And sometimes that's not good.
Yeah, can't please everybody.
Hey, that's right. I'm not here to make friends.
So, what were your thoughts when Iron folded, and what did you do after Pro Wrestling Iron?
I got pretty hurt. I tore a shoulder completely out, all three parts of it, before they folded. And they folded while I was hurt. I don't know that I would have been able to come back. We all have personal lives, and I had 2 kids I'm trying to raise, and the injury was bad. It required surgery some years later. That finally it just gave up. My arm went completely numb. It didn't work. You actually had to grab a hold of it to move it. Finally, I had it fixed up. I wish I could have seen Iron grow to its potential in some capacity, whether I didn't wrestle there anymore or whatever. I wish I could have seen that play out a lot longer than what it did.
Mm-hmm.
It changes people's lives. I mean, a business like that in the wrestling industry, you change people's lives. You change the wrestlers' lives. You change the audience's lives. You get to do good things. You look at some of the big time guys now. That they go and you see them doing good things in the world, and they haven't forgotten their roots. And I think a lot of wrestlers, I'd say the majority of wrestlers don't forget where they started. And they know what brought them to where they're at. And they're willing to give back, and I just wish I would have seen Iron go a lot longer than it did. I really do. And, I don't know. I don't think that I was ever involved in or privy to why they decided to be done. And I certainly know that, I would only had 1 or 2 choices. You can try to talk them out of it, or you can buy it and go on from there. I didn't have it in me at that time to want to buy it and try that. Wrestling as an industry has this roller coaster effect that it does. It gets some real big highs, and then it'll dip down for a while. Then it comes back, and you can actually, if you look at it, you can actually put names to those highs and lows. In WWE, you see the Rocks and the Stone Colds, and Undertaker, obviously, right? I mean, the guy been around for a long time. But you see the storylines and get a good storyline going, and 2 guys that can really go, and you'll see a high come out. And I think that Iron, I honestly think Iron was started in a low, and I just don't think we ever made it to a peak. Mm-hmm. I think it was coming. I just don't think we got there. And I wish we would. I really do. I wish I'd have been part of that.
Right. Now, in Iron and APW, they would run shows everywhere from Angels Camp to Lathrop to Galt to King City. What is there a favorite road story that you have? Or it could be, it could be more than one, but any favorite road stories from those trips?
It won't be much wrestling related. Mm-hmm. Angels Camp. First time they ever sent me to Angels Camp. I go rolling up into this town, and most people want to look it up. Angels Camp's 5 streets. I mean, that's all it is. It's got an old school downtown, like 1880s looking stuff.
Right.
And first time I went in there, I rolled into that town, and there was a gunfight on the street, right on the main street. There's a gunfight. And my background is that I hunt and fish and do those things, and I had a gun in the truck. And I'm stopped at this end of the street and I'm watching the gunfight there. And I don't know if I should turn around. I don't know. You're trying to figure out what the hell you should do. Then it dawns on me that this is fake. It's a fake gunfight. These guys are wearing chaps and they're coming out of the saloon shooting each other, and guys falling down over there, and guys falling down over there. But it took like 10 minutes to figure all that out. I mean, there's people everywhere. They're just laying down, right? Like they're dead. And it's just one of those that you just never know what you're going to see until you get there, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
imagine if you would have intervened.
And I literally was going to pull my rifle off, you know, but you see that. It's just these things, and everywhere we went, you know.
Right.
Cloverdale was another big, it was a citrus fair. We did a show. You know, it's just different stuff you see everywhere, and you got to see different lifestyles everywhere you went. You know, we go to Oregon and wrestle. It's different. You go to Salinas, it's different. You're loved in one town and absolutely hated in the next.
Yeah.
And you never can really figure out why.
Yeah.
Other than there might be a hometown guy there, and okay, you're going to wrestle him, but
yeah.
It's that just makes the whole thing so exciting and so much fun. You forget about the hours of driving and that stuff, you know. Right. Okay, you go down to Pismo, and a couple of us would go, and you know, we'd go do something. You know, we'd hang out for a little bit, maybe ride quads in the dunes or whatever, and then you go to the show, and after the show, people are like, "Weren't you guys riding quads this morning?" And you're like, "Yeah." And it's just that. It's just the whole thing is surrounded by different situations, and they just make you. It's just fun. It's just, but it's the guys. It's the guys you're hanging out with that make it that way. It's not. And the fans making it last. You know, there's. Yeah. I remember one time I got thrown out of the ring, and I went to grab a chair. Right. I want to say it was against the Ballard brothers, but I go to grab this chair, and the lady wouldn't give me the damn chair. Her and I are fighting over the chair in the middle of the damn in the audience. She won't give me her chair. I'm ready to go fight with her chair, and she won't give it to me. And you got literally have to rip it out of her hands, and she's mad. Yeah. It's those things that you just don't know what's coming, and that was the fun of it. Is you just don't know what situation's going to show up next, and you're going to have to adapt to it. You know, I remember some fights that you end up out there in the concession stands, you know, and you see it in WWE every once in a while, right? They'll fight, they'll go around, and it was down in Santa Maria, I think, and we were fighting, and I got thrown over toward the popcorn thing, and I'll be damned, my opponent didn't grab a bag of popcorn and start shoving it down my throat. It's just that stuff, and you're like, how am I supposed to sell that? You know, right. But I think it's that. I think that's the road stories that it's the guys, and then obviously Angels Camp. There's a gunfight. You're like, that's not fun, you know, and you don't know. It really took a while because you just you'd hear the pow, and you'd see a guy fall over in the street. And see another one, and then another guy come out this way.
And you're like, I'm just trying to hang this poster for my show.
I was like, dude, I got a title match here in an hour. What the hell are we doing? You know?
I remember the thing I remember from Angels Camp that I always find hilarious was at the time, it was like when you work your match, and I think this was, I don't know if this was a Donovan or Modest thing, it's like you don't go out in the crowd and hang out. Like you're done with your match, you stay in the back, unless you're going to sell merch during intermission. But other than that, because a lot of the boys would do that. They'd wrestle, and then they'd go in the crowd, and they're just looking at the match. And it was like it was a big no. But Angels Camp didn't draw that many people. There were more workers than people in the crowd. And I remember you said, like, well, fuck, maybe we should go out after our match and just fucking fill up the seats.
That's it. You know, it was, that came from APW too. But we weren't really allowed out after a match. Even Gym Wars, they didn't want us to go out there, you know. And it was, I understand why the guys wanted to go out there. Number one, we're wrestling fans too. But you learn and you get to see things. And, you know, Robert made me laugh because I had this new move. right? And I did it in my match. And he was watching from the back, like at the curtain, right? Peeking his head through the curtain. He watched me do this new move I've been working on for like a week. And I do it and I hit it just right, you know, and I end up getting, I pinned the guy out. I come walking back there and he said, you know, why did you take my move? And what the hell are you talking about? He goes, that's my move.
Is this Robert Thompson? You said this is Robert Thompson?
This is Robert Thompson.
Uh-huh.
I said, brother, I didn't take your move. He goes, yes, you did. You watch. My match is next. You watch. That's my move. And that's paying dues too. You know, I mean, you come up with something and don't get me wrong, he was joking.
Right.
He took it for about a week and then he said, I had, you know, he was the first one that ever hit me with a chair, was Robert Thompson. And I think that was the first King of Indies. He did that. You think that's fake? I tell you, it's not. No, that's them hitting you with a chair.
One thing I forgot to ask you earlier when it came to training, APW would do this all the time, and it would drive me insane. And I don't think Iron did it, but the clapping. You do a forward roll, you clap, the next guy comes in and does it. That would just drive me nuts.
Yeah, I understand you're trying to, get people's confidence up. And they know if they did it right. I mean, what are we going to do in a match? Okay, you do this great schoolboy bump in the match, and I'll be damn. I should have started clapping. That probably would have been a fantastic gimmick. As you hit a big move, you stand up and give him a little clap, and then go on to a new move, right? The hip toss. Now we're going to clap for that too, right? Who was it? Rob Van Dam that used to pat himself on the back. That's probably a takeoff.
Or Barry Horowitz would do the.
That's right. There you go. And but we should have done the clapping. I wish you'd have told me that back in APW because I'd have done it. That's my. You don't want to say something.
You give a guy a snap there, then you clap.
Look at that! You bumped right. They give me oh my God! That would have been fun.
But I would record. I would record a lot of those trainings, and I was like literally like this, like looking over, like, why are they fucking clapping after every fucking thing?
And Iron didn't do that. We didn't.
Yeah.
I think that got lost. I imagine that got lost even in APW at some point because I don't remember it being at the end of APW. But I know my first class. Yeah. This is great.
Man, that would have been an awesome gimmick.
I see. I wish I could go back today.
Oh man.
I'd do that one.
So just to tie this all together, I know you said you're hurt, so maybe that's why you decided to retire. But why did you decide to retire, and what were some of the things that you found disappointed from the business?
Injury is why I finally got
right.
I have a business, and I couldn't do my business hurt the way I was hurt. And at that point, feeding my kids was top priority in my life, and I don't regret it at all. I don't regret the business at all. But that's why I retired. I don't think my body was going to take much more of what I was doing today.
Right.
The doctors are right. I can do it for a while and then things give up on you, and some of you still live with today, there's numb spots in our bodies. Just things are dead and they're not going to ever fix themselves.
Right.
Disappointments in the business. I'm sure at the time I felt there was disappointments in certain aspects of the business. Now, I don't. I'm not disappointed. I'd do it again if my body would hold up for it. I'd love every bit of it because it was one of the better segments of my life that I'll never forget wrestling and what it's done for me. And there's part of wrestling that you can take forward with you, and that it's that you can endure some stuff. You can take some beating in this world and not worry about it. Stand back up and move forward. And so wrestling was good for that. There is some disappointments in the business. there's people that everybody pays their money. There was people that paid their money and they didn't pay no dues. They didn't go anywhere in the business. They never will. But, it's kind of like it's almost like they detract from people that are really trying. And, then there's people that paid their money and paid their dues and they still don't do very well. But that's just life, I mean, we're not all gifted athletes, I mean, you don't want me to go swing a golf club. It's not going to work out well. So some people probably, but I don't hold anything. I am grateful for them. I'm proud for them because they had a dream. And even though their body wasn't agreeing to that dream, they didn't care. They went out there and did it and they tried. And you can't ever hammer somebody for going out there and trying. You just can't. So I learned a lot from it. And I was just years later. I mean, we've been 10, 11, 12 years in that since then. So I don't, as you get older, you change your views on some things. I don't think it's a tough. I think pro wrestling sorry about that. I think pro wrestling is a young man's sport.
That was a nice talk, by the way. That
was
a nice talk on the phone.
That was a nice schoolboy right there. I think that it's a young man's sport, and there is politics in wrestling. But I think that the hard work and paying your dues will triumph over the politics of it, as long as you're willing to go, give it your all. So I don't think there's any. The only regret I have is I wish some of it would have lasted a lot longer. I wish my body would have lasted a lot longer. I was certainly getting the opportunities, and I owe that to Roland, Donovan, Vinny, Mike Modest. I mean that list is long. It's long. Right. There's a lot of people that do things for you, and you may not think much of it, but those people helped you. You got the Tomcasters, you got you that come out there and nobody's paying you, but you're out there every show, practices, every gym wars. You're in the ring. You're doing these things. You're coming up with ideas. You come up with angles. All those things have to work together.
Right.
And then you got to get extremely lucky. And that's just, don't get injured. Don't do these things, but you got to put it on the line. So I don't have regrets. I loved it all. I wish it would have lasted longer for all of us. I think that Iron going forward, I wish APW was, all of that. I think I love the business. I don't want to see it fail.
Right.
I love the entertainment value of it. Maybe not so much now, but you watch it on TV and you're like, again, right? But you even see, this one's been played to death, but Mankind coming off the cage and Mankind getting chokeslammed through the cage. My God, he put it on the line, and a lot of it has to do with his love of the business. And I think that the love of all of our love in that business is what keeps pro wrestling moving.
Right. Well, thanks a lot, Bart Blaxson. You're always a good dude. You overcame a lot, even just before you got into the business, like you just said, what you talked about when we first started, man, like you overcame a lot, you beat the odds. And thanks for being a guest on the podcast, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm glad we had this opportunity to have this conversation. We hadn't talked in a while. No, it's been awesome, brother. Last time we talked was that fundraiser, and I always love talking and being around you. You're fun. And I'm glad that you were part of my wrestling career. I know it was part of your wrestling career too, what you were doing in the wrestling business. And I really enjoy the fact that I know I can call on you anytime. If I have a project, I know you're going to help. But even if I don't have a project, you're one of those guys I'd hang out with and just have a good time with, and I'm proud I get to call you a friend. So likewise,
I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad I got to do this. I really do. And anytime you want me to do anything, give me a ring, brother. I'm in.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
I appreciate it.
You have a great weekend.
You too. And thank you for watching Indy Handshake. We'll see you next time.